If you're watching this video, you are likely an ambitious teenager who wants to succeed in business, improve their financial situation, and sees investing as the best way to generate passive income. The question that comes to your mind is, what can I start investing in if I am underage or a teenager? So I decided to make a video about the best investments for people who are underage and how they can start making them today. So, if this is exactly what you were looking for, please subscribe to the channel and like the video. It costs nothing and helps me a lot. Thank you. I appreciate it very much. And to assure you, don't miss out on any of this valuable content we're putting out, which will help improve your financial and personal life in the future. I recommend that you stick around until the end of the video, because what you are about to hear today, I wish someone had given me these investment tips when I was underage, when I had no clue about entrepreneurship and didn't know where to invest. So, we begin with the video. When you are underage, you probably feel limited, thinking you can't achieve much. Everything seems difficult and complicated. You feel confused, and while you want to do a lot, you feel like you are not accomplishing anything. I can tell you this because I felt exactly the same as you in your position. However, it's true that there are many things you can't access when you are underage, but there are also fundamental things you should do at this age. These are simple things, but in the long term, you will notice their impact on your life. The reality is that in the first 30 years of your life, you make decisions about your habits. And in the last 30, your habits determine your life. So, when you're underage, you're in the perfect stage to develop your fundamental financial skills, start investing, and grow as a person much faster than others. Every decision you make at this early age can have a very positive effect on your life. Therefore, it's crucial to make them correctly. You might be interested in investing in stocks, cryptocurrencies, real estate, or any other financial asset. But I don't believe this is the best investment when you are underage. Primarily for two reasons. Firstly, at this age, you often don't have enough money. When I first learned about investments, I was sadly 18 years old. And although I was passionate and wanted to start investing money, I encountered the main barrier of not knowing what to do, how to do it, and therefore I couldn't do much. The second reason, which was also a significant barrier for me at this age, is that we generally don't have much money at this age. Many times we're probably just students, living with our parents, and if we work, we may not accumulate a large amount of capital. However, these are not bad news. They are excellent. At this age, you have other resources to invest, which you probably don't realize. At this age, you have the most important resource in the world, one that all adults would like to have again: your time. At this age, your time is abundant. You don't have many worries, tasks, or too much work. You have all your time at your disposal. You can invest your time in learning, seeking opportunities, understanding the world of investment. When we are underage, we might imagine that everything happens with a click, because that's the idea that social media often portrays: easy money. But that's completely false. Every area of finance is a world based on studies and science. You need to become an expert and learn its principles to achieve the success you see in other people. Success doesn't come from luck or coincidence, but from hard work and persistence. The time you have now gives you enormous freedom to do many things, primarily because when you start working, your time has an hourly cost, and you can't simply drop everything and start a project without pay, because every hour you lose, every hour you don't work or work on an unpaid project means you are losing money. Your time goes from having no value to having an opportunity cost. This causes many people to be unable to stop working because eventually they have an opportunity cost. Or in other words, they have something to lose. That's why many people slow down their learning process, reading or even enjoying the things they work for to avoid further financial loss. In other words, their time is now valuable, so they can't afford to stop working during these crucial moments in your life. When your time is of a slow value, the best investment you can make is to invest your time in learning about money and investments. Most people believe the solution to all their problems is simply earning more money. But this isn't the reality. If you don't believe me, consider the best example I can give you now. People who win the lottery, imagine someone wins $1 million. They are likely very happy. However, the key is how they will manage and grow that $1 million over time. Your response would probably be to invest it. But then I would ask, what will you invest in? If your answer is stocks, I'd inquire, in which stocks? How do you know which one will go up or down? What analysis method do you use to ensure your investments are sound? And through which platforms or brokerage houses will you invest your money to keep it secure and regulated? If your response was real estate, I'd ask, how do you know the property you're buying is the right one? How would you find a reliable tenant who pays on time and doesn't let you down? Most importantly, how will you choose the right property that appreciates in value rather than one that depreciates? The typical response to this might be, I'd start a business. So, my question is, what kind of business would you start? How do you plan to differentiate yourself from competitors? And how much experience do you have in the industry to make this business successful? As you're realizing, money alone isn't the solution. You need financial education. You need to learn how to invest, manage, create, and handle your money. Don't wait for this to become a problem. Get ahead of it and take advantage of that situation. As I've been saying, this is the best time to do it because your time is relatively cheap and you can eventually make decisions that will positively impact your life in the long run. Now, you might be wondering where you can learn about financial education. It's easy. On this YouTube channel, we upload 3 videos a week about money, business management, and financial education to help you learn how to invest and create wealth. Remember, financial education is the path to wealth, not the other way around. The second best investment you can make when you are underage is to invest your time in figuring out what you want to study. When we think about our future, we often link it directly to what do we want to do for a living. Professional education can sometimes be a challenging decision, especially at the age when you need to decide on a university path. For example, when I entered university, I was 18 years old, a fairly complicated age to decide what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. However, I already knew what I wanted to pursue because I started learning about the stock market and stock investments at 18. Since then, I decided which path to study, and fortunately, I didn't make a mistake. However, many people make hasty decisions and are not sure about their choices, and they end up making mistakes midway or in more advanced stages of their careers. If they are lucky, they realize this early on and make a complete career change. I'm not saying this to instill fear. Quite the opposite. I believe that stepping out of a place where you feel uncomfortable and not professionally advancing is an excellent decision. It's wise to change your mind. although it can be challenging or make you feel that you're already accustomed to a certain sector or field of work. But that should not hold you back from making a change toward a better future where you can be proud of yourself. However, if you can invest a significant amount of time when you are underage to figure out what you want to do and not leave it until the last moment, I think it's an excellent option for your future. At the same time, I recommend that before you idealize any profession you want to study, you ground yourself well and look for people who have studied the career you want to pursue. Find the most successful person you can who has studied what you want to study. Learn about the experiences of other people, and if you can't see yourself in the same situation as this person, it probably isn't the path for you to follow. It's easy to have illusions based on movies on extremely atypical cases, so I recommend that you stay grounded and see what people who have studied what you want to study do for a living. This way you can determine if it's the path you want to take in your life. Life takes many twists and turns, and you might not end up practicing what you should study. But try to find a good balance between professional admiration and passion for the career. You'll invest 4 or 5 years approximately, and exclusively it could be to learn about a specific topic. And that's what you will look for the rest of your life. So at least study something you like or can professionally benefit from. Always keep in mind the vision of creating a business or an entrepreneurial venture in the future. Try to make the tools you learn in this career a way to achieve that. Always create a vision for what you want to achieve in the future. And if the things or the education you're receiving are bringing you closer to your goals, you're on the right track. At the same time, I recommend not neglecting skills like leadership or communication. School will never be enough to fulfill your goals, but it's an excellent start. Up to this point, the investments we have talked about don't involve any kind of monetary change. Next, we'll begin with investments that require a few dollars from your pocket. It's not much, but it's enough to start investing. The third best investment I recommend if you're underage is to invest money in buying books. A book is empirical knowledge that's been accumulated over many years, and you can have it available at any time. Remember, it's literally lessons that have caused people their entire lives or taken decades to reach conclusions that can make a radical change in your life. And you can learn just by reading this book. Choose books about skills you like to develop and start reading them. If you find it challenging to develop a reading habit at first, read what you like and start with shorter books, like pocket-sized books, which are a good choice initially. Once reading becomes a habit or routine in your day, venture to slightly more complex books or ones that focus on the skills you want to develop. It's not recommended to start with highly complicated books or those that discuss very difficult or boring topics for you, because you might lose interest and never develop the habit. It's like when people say they're committed to a diet that they find challenging to follow because it's presented as suffering. Reading should not be torture. It should be enjoyable. A very important point is not to force yourself to read 50 pages in a day. Read a few pages, but be consistent in the process so you can gain maximum knowledge and benefit from this investment, which will bring many benefits in the future. There are plenty of books that can help improve your financial education and learn about finances, investments, and money. So if you want to know more about these books, subscribe to the channel and activate the notifications, because I will soon upload a video about books for learning about finances. The fourth best investment I recommend when you are underage is to invest your money in developing a small business. If you think you don't have much money to start your small business, I can assure you that there are businesses like selling digital products online, creating a website, or working on paid platforms that you can easily manage. Here on the channel, we will be discussing how to create these businesses step by step. It's not difficult, and it doesn't require a large sum of money. I believe this is the best option you can make when you are underage. First of all, it will give you an idea of how business life works. Once you've learned enough about financial education, money, and wealth creation, you will be eager to create your first business and start on this path. Starting to create your first venture will make you familiar with the business world as an apprentice, and it will help you to develop as a person. You don't need a lot of money, the perfect product, or sometimes even a product at all. You can start with a service where you exchange your time for money. This initial encounter with the professional world and wealth creation will give you valuable experiences that will help you grow as a person. I've had businesses I haven't shared here because they weren't successful enough. However, I'm not embarrassed about them. I believe that each of the businesses I undertook at the time had a learning curve that still serves me today, helping me improve my current businesses and refine new business ideas. Simply learning how a business works, how to start selling, what works and what doesn't work will give you unique leverage in the future. Remember that from 14 to 19 years old, even up to 20 years old, is your time to sow for future harvest. The faster you sow knowledge, experiences, and money, the quicker you will be able to reap these benefits in the future, and the sooner you will achieve financial and professional success in your life. The businesses you create in the early years of your life may work, or they may not. However, the most important thing is the experience you gain from these businesses and the lessons you take with you. So, if these businesses don't work initially, don't be discouraged or frustrated. On the contrary, you should understand that failure is a fundamental part of success, and the more you fail, the closer you are to success. The fifth way I recommend you to invest when you are underage is to create a custodial account. A custodial account is simply an investment account managed by your parents, but ultimately, it allows you to handle the money within it. Once you turn 18, you will have full autonomy over the resources in the account. In other words, your parents use their majority age to create an investment account for you, so you can start investing in the world of investments. There are different types of assets, and it's very extensive, but it can be summarized as fixed income and variable income. Fixed income investments guarantee a return, generally have a very low risk, and don't yield much money. On the other hand, variable income includes stocks, cryptocurrencies, and assets don't have a guarantee of how they will perform in the future, but they come with more risk and a higher potential for returns. If you want to start with fixed income and want to begin with very little risk, simply search on Google for how to invest in bonds in your country. There is enough information to help you get started. However, my personal recommendation is to take more risk and dive directly into variable income. At this stage of your life, you have greater freedom and can take more risk. Buying cryptocurrencies, stocks, and similar high-risk products can be profitable over time, especially in the future, because time is on your side. And these types of businesses need time to grow and provide extraordinary returns. At this age, you have freedom and time to wait for something that many other people don't have. For example, if your investment don't go as planned, you still have a lot of time to recover the capital. With the financial education you have gained and the businesses you have started, you can eventually recover that money or more. However, older individuals who already have families, children, or responsibilities they need to take care of and can't take the risk that you can take today, because if they invest in stocks or cryptocurrencies, if their investments don't go as planned, they ultimately have much less time to recover. This is the best time to take risks and let them grow in the future. However, this doesn't mean you should invest in the first thing you come across. It means you should study, learn, and become financially educated. With the initial investment we discussed at the beginning of the video, once you have this knowledge, make the best investment decisions with your money. If you have reached this part of the video, I challenge you to share the area of investment that interests you the most and let me know what you think of the video. Well, successful investors, that's all for today. I hope this has served as a guide for starting to invest when you are underage. If my video provided you with valuable information, please leave it in the comments, subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to hit the notification bell. We'll be posting many more videos like this, especially for ambitious teenagers looking to learn everything about investments. See you in the next video.